All right, let me show you something. Well, that's failure. And that is an integral part of upskilling. I didn't plan this to happen right now, but it did happen. But I don't beat myself about because of this. When I started learning card magic, this is what I went through all the time. Let me show you something. This is a blank slide, and that is how you start whenever you start building a skill. That was not magic. It was hours of cards slipping out of my hands, sweaty fingers, and me yelling at the two of hearts at 1 a.m., asking it to disappear very politely. I was glued to my cards. I take them everywhere. Metro rides to my coaching, school breaks, and even on dinner tables. I practiced whenever I got a second. Hi, I am Siddhant Salvan. I'm a student and an author who aspires to have a career in science. But the thing is, when I first started looking at the skills, I was like, wait, can I actually do that? Because there's always a mental barrier that you're stuck with whenever you start building a skill. And a perfect example of that would be once our IT lab teacher, Nitesh sir, told us that you could build a rocket in school if you wanted to. It all seemed like a joke. Because do you even expect a kid to go up to an IT lab and say, I will build a rocket? It sounds insane, right? So exactly a year ago, on 26th July 2024, I launched my first rocket. It was a disaster. But what matters is that I learned from failure. I brought an idea to life, even if it failed. Now, let's be real. I didn't expect to become David Blaine the second I smuggled a card to my pocket. But I did reach an amateur level of skill in a short amount of time. Now, let me show you what an upskilling mindset looks like. This is you. Whenever you start building a skill, it looks like this. It's chaotic, unclear, and very overwhelming. But here's the part that I realized. You don't need clarity to start. You need to start to find clarity. Starting is the first barrier. Once you start, the path builds itself gradually. The first step is simple. Go wild. Be one with the chaos. Let your imagination loose. Think of what you want to do, not what you can already do. Picture something that excites you, scares you a little, or maybe even feels impossible right now. Now take that idea and set a non-negotiable endpoint. A goal that must be reached under any circumstance. That dot is not a dream. Look at it as if it's already a part of you. And it can change throughout your journey, depending upon your path, your passion, your circumstances. It might even shift, evolve, or move entirely. And that's all right. What matters is that you go on and build that skill. You need to have something to chase, even if it keeps moving. When I saw that card trick on the television, I found one of my red dots. And in the process of chasing that one, I picked up hundreds. That's the secret. The goal keeps you grounded when everything else is messy. It keeps your chaos directed and helps you find patterns in everything. Let's come back. Here's the part that messes with most people. Starting feels excruciatingly difficult and long. Your hands won't move the way you want. Your results won't match your vision. And your brain will want to give up. That's normal. So how does one actually go on and overcome that mental barrier that you've always been making around yourself? Let me show you that with an example. I run a rocketry club at school where I teach kids how to build model rockets. And this was my first model rocket. Exactly. I knew nothing about rockets. The only thing I knew is that rockets go up because of some fire underneath them. That was my entire understanding. But I set my dot to send something into the sky. And I started. So start small, ridiculously small, so small that it feels silly. Break the skill down into its most fundamental components and just try that. Not to succeed, but to show your brain that it's safe to begin. Because once you get going, resistance loses its grip. You don't leap into skill. You start to crawl into it, slowly, one step at a time. And that is what it quite looks like. I wasn't just learning how to build rockets. I was learning how to learn. Failure becomes a language. Every rocket that didn't lift, every launch that twisted sideways, each one gave me patterns, warnings, and solutions. See, failure isn't a stop sign. It's a signpost, one that points, redirects, and refines. Only if you're paying attention. I was training my brain to be okay with disorder, to extract meaning from failure, and to build systems without being handed blueprints. And that is what this phase is all about. Don't aim for progress. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for progress. But it can't be that easy, right? Step 2 is failure and dealing with it. I wasn't always this mad rocket scientist who kept rocket fuel nuggets lying around under his table as pets. When I was 12, I first started baking. And when I first started baking, my cakes turned out as inverted volcanoes. My croissants felt like medieval weapons. And I'm pretty sure Julius Caesar could have gone to war with the baguettes I tried to make. I kept repeating the same mistakes, baking at the same temperatures, following the same recipes. And I expected to make a wonderful cake one day. But that definitely did not happen. What worked was when I went on to study the role of every single ingredient in a cake. I started to see where I was going wrong, and I started improving. So what we learned from this rocketry and baking is that mindless failure is just noise. But mindful failure, that's data. But wait, what's even the need for this data? I mean, rocketry and baking don't have any relations of any sorts, right? Well, no. When I was learning how to cook, I first started working with sugar. And the thing with sugar is that while I worked with it, I turned my steel pans into dark dungeons of burnt sugar and despair. I literally ruined pots trying to get that sugar right, that correct ratio between water and sugar. And I learned how sugar heated, caramelized, and burnt. See, and what it taught me was that it was an integral part of what I was going to do. Now here's what's interesting. A kind of rocket fuel that we use in our rocketry club is called rocket candy. And we use a very dangerous chemical in that club, which is this. And it's so dangerous that it causes diabetes. This is sugar. Exactly. You need to cook sugar with certain chemicals and make rocket fuel. And if you don't cook that fuel correctly with the sugar, if you don't get the temperature of the sugar right, this is what happens. Exactly. That teaches us that different skills have the same patterns. Like failure in the kitchen taught me more about rocketry. So, coming to the next part, I'll show you all the prerequisites you need to build a skill. Everything you need to actually go out there and start building your skills. The next slide is liquid gold. I'm going to change it in 3, 2, 1. Exactly. You don't need any prerequisites to build a skill. Let me tell you another story. When I was in grade 11 in January, we had to host a farewell for our grade 12. And a night before the farewell, I got a text that I need to DJ. during the last 30 minutes of the party. And instead of panicking, I looked at it as more of an opportunity. I thought to myself, how cool would it be for an 11th grader to learn how to DJ in one night? So I started. I went to a friend's house, borrowed some equipment, learned some basics, and dove straight in. The next day, I bring my laptop. I set it up on the table. I open my laptop. I run the software. I plug in the song, and I play. And I play. And I play. And it failed. So I just used another application to DJ, play songs. Yeah, so I used another application to DJ, and it wasn't perfect, but I learned a lot. I still learned how to DJ, and it came in handy during another school trip. What's important is that whenever you start building a skill, you start getting a repository of them. You can use that repository as a toolkit that you can carry into any challenge. Any challenge, may it be work, school, or any unexpected situation. Your brain will know how to figure things out. And that's nothing less than a superpower. But all skills may not be useful. But they might teach you the qualities needed to build another skill. For example, learning card magic taught me a lot about consistency, determination, patience, resilience. The list goes on. And that helped me keep a very growth-oriented and positive mindset when I actually started learning rocketry and building rockets. These red dots aren't always grand or long-term. Sometimes they appear spontaneously. And to chase them on instinct and having an open mind is what matters. You have to be like a squirrel, quick, curious, and maybe even slightly insane. Sometimes skills don't come from curiosity. They come from necessity. Upskilling isn't always about sitting down with a notebook and saying, today I will become a master. It's about being willing to uncover a skill hiding inside the chaos. Because inside the mind of an upskiller, there's a metal detector, or should I say, a skill detector, that finds out the best way to do anything. They find out the skill hiding within everything. They even find out how to brush their teeth in the better, more skiller way. All right, maybe not that, but you get the point. It's about discovering what you're capable of, not only when you want to, but when you have to. You turn every plan into, every circumstance, planned or not, you turn every skill, planned or not, into a circumstance to build a skill. And that's when the skill stops becoming a goal and starts becoming a reflex. So let me ask you something. What is your red dot? Thank you.